You've all heard of comfort food, the kind of food you like to eat regardless of its nutritional value, but it just...
Frights! Camera! Action!
Come on, everybody! It's time to play!
I'm sorry.
Bless me, Father, for I have sinned.
It is a place where nightmares come to life. Now, a man without a past will face an enemy that never dies.
Oh my God.
Van Helsing.
Here we are with our final comfort flicks for Halloween, and, well, one thing that has kind of really left my consciousness, I never actually take the time to really appreciate the classics as much as I like to.
Like the golden age, the 20s.
Yeah, the golden age of horror, like the dawn of the Universal horror monsters. And I can see Universal's actually trying to find some way to bring it back to that, because of course we had the notorious flop, The Mummy.
And the recent Dark Universe, and then they had the one they tried to do 5 years earlier with like Dracula Untold.
I, Frankenstein.
Did anyone even watch those?
No, yeah, no one did. And it's in the wake of those failures. There's another movie that actually maybe unintentionally tried to do it, and frankly I think needs to be reevaluated.
No one knows how to kill Dracula.
It's been a while since I watched Von Helsing. Yeah, we're talking about Von Helsing.
We're talking about Van Helsing.
I like it. Van Helsing or Von Helsing? I go Von Helsing.
I like Von
That's
Helsing.
how they say. That's how they say it in the movie.
Yeah.
This movie pretty much is its own dark universe.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of a dark universe or all the monsters living in the same universe is not new.
Universal, ironically, was way ahead of the game on the whole shared universe concept, because they had all these other movies where I think it was Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman was another one.
Oh, there's so many.
Of course, one of the most famous was Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, which was
yeah,
like...
that one's awesome.
Yeah,
that has all of them in it. The Wolfman, Frankenstein's monster, and Dracula. And the plot is Dracula's using the Frankenstein's monster for his own nefarious purposes.
Mm-hmm. Even in the 80s...
Sounds a little familiar, right?
Even in the 80s, there was a cult favorite that combined all the classic monsters.
Wolfman's gone mad.
The Monster Squad.
Why are y'all focusing on Nards?
Because we never knew he had him. Because
Fun story, that actually goes into Van Helsing, because that's what we should be talking about. If you have a DVD or Blu-ray, watch the commentary with the actors, and they play Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, and the Wolfman. There is a bit where they the actor played the Wolfman, Will Kemp, I believe. He requested about maybe making the Wolfman have look good down there. And Richard Roxburgh, Dracula, was like, I wasn't worried. He asked, did you ask that for the vampire monster? And he's like, I wasn't worried about my fur balls, thank you. I'm fine.
Wolfman's gone mad.
I remember when this movie was due to come out, and the fact it was Stephen Sommers directing it, I remember my first impression was, yeah.
The Mummy,
Yeah.
which I so believe is in the same universe.
I want to actually believe that. I agree with you.
They had the same tone.
It kind of actually makes it better. It makes Van Helsing even better to think that it's in the same
Oh,
universe.
I believe Igor and Benny are related.
Oh, I could definitely. Well, yeah.
It's the same actor. But
It's the same actor.
they're related.
And to the actor's credit, you'd have to actually point him out, because he's under heavy makeup in Van Helsing, and
he always shows up. So.
But he turns out a drastically different performance than he does as Benny.
Yeah, he's not Benny.
Yeah, he's definitely not Benny. Van Helsing does really have the similar adventurous spirit of the Mummy movies.
Well, they took films that were originally horror or suspense, and they made them action and fun and adventures. That's why everyone loves The Mummy from 1999? Yeah, it was 1999.
Yeah, 99.
I get that mixed up with The Mummy Returns, sorry. But they're action-based, and that's why everyone loves it, is because the characters were fun and whatnot. I will say The Mummy had better characters than Van Helsing when it came to just the entertainment level. The characters in Van Helsing are not deep. They're not unique to themselves, but they're kind of fun. Especially Dracula. He just steals every scene.
Well, that's what happens when you have Richard Roxburgh, and he was making waves around this point, because he was in Mission Impossible 2, and only just prior to it, now everyone knew him and loathed him, but also kind of loved him as the Duke from Moulin Rouge.
Oh, that's not what I was thinking. No, I was thinking of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, because he played M.
That's right. That's right.
And he got to chew the scenery in that movie too.
He
got to chew it at the end of the movie.
He had a little taste of it. Unfortunately, I mean,
That's at this level. This is like level 11.
No, this one he was not only chewing it, he was walking on it on multiple angles because
that was like the best scenes was when he's just ranting to his wives who are just sitting there cowering. But he's like walking, and the thing is, they actually had him. You could tell walking up the wall. It wasn't the
green
tilting.
Screen or not Inception with the revolving.
Yeah, it's not the
set.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
He's on wires.
No, you can because they gave him for some reason a ponytail, and you can see it falling backwards and upside down, which gives it a look that is just neat. Because I don't see movies do that ever, especially with vampires. It's always CG or the room's tipped upside down. Because I've seen stuff on ceilings.
Now, I gotta say, even with all the modern filmmaking techniques that this movie uses with a lot of the CGI, which I will say, compared to The Mummy, the CGI in this one is way better. But the other thing I gotta say, I gotta give massive love to this one. There is still a lot of old school techniques, like the walking up the walls. That was done with classic wires, the kind of stuff that even harkens back to the days of Bela Lugosi.
They only use the CG when they have to.
Yeah.
Usually it's the flying creatures, and even then, they keep them in shadows a lot. There's not a lot of sun in this movie.
No.
And that actually helps. Like, Mr. Hyde, going back to LXG, I did like that they made him practical. This one they do not. But the effects aren't bad because they keep him so much in shadow and so much in the dark. He actually is quite expressive.
But it's CGI that actually blends really well with the fact that they actually took the time to build a lot of practical sets. And they are not lazy sets. They built an entire town for the big showdown with the three brides.
And that's actually really cool town. And the sad part is that was actually going to be used for a TV series they wanted to jump off, which would have been called something Transylvania, and it would have been The Adventures of Killing Monsters in Transylvania, and that set would have been used. But movie didn't make enough money, they trashed the set.
Frankenstein's Lab, which is... I actually kind of got... Last time watching it, I got lost in that set, just like looking at all the little nuances that they threw.
Well, I was lost in like the random details they had in those costumes that didn't, even the little minions, which I called like heavy armored Jawas. There's a shot where you see them really up close. You see the detail work on their costumes. And these little guys in the dark that you just see walking by. And I maybe made a costume from this movie. I can tell you the detail work on those costumes, even when they don't look like they have a lot, is insane. The costumes, the makeup effects, especially for Frankenstein's monster, are just insanely good.
I love the design of Frankenstein in this movie.
And he's intelligent, which is more accurate to the book. I think the only other time I've really seen that version would be Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, but that was back when they were doing like prestige
horror.
Whatever. I mean, yay. But like, he's intelligent. He's a big dude made out of several people. He read the Bible, so he actually like they make a point that that's why he's reading scripture and quoting it. That's all he had to read for like a year.
One of my favorite things is when he walks, there's little tufts of steam that come out of his legs, so he has like hydraulics in his
and
being.
In the behind the scenes they show like how they actually built him into the stilts in order to stand at that point. And it's just cool stuff. One thing I kind of liked about the Wolfman, one is not just a wolf like Wolf in London. It is a man wolf, big man wolf.
Actually, kind of remind me of the Howling. Actually,
a bit. Those were totally CG, but they weren't bad.
And the
fur texture was actually pretty decent.
Yeah, and the transformation.
Cool.
Prior to it, I don't recall. Then again, I admit I have not seen The Howling yet, but we'll get on that. But I think that might have been one where they rip off their flesh and they're the wolf underneath. I can definitely tell you a werewolf movie that did it afterwards.
The catch with this one is it's kind of done quickly. Like it's like as if you were peeling off a thin layer. It's not like torn slowly, and it looks painful as hell. I also like that each of the wolves, because you see 3 different werewolves, distinctly look different and look like they are the wolf version of that person. Well, except the first one, I don't know what that dude looked like.
Yeah.
But still, like the wolf you see, you can kind of go, I think I know who that might have been just by it's like them as a dog.
It's like I can totally buy that is Van Helsing as a werewolf.
I was like, that's Hugh Jackman as a wolf.
Take it. Yeah, that's him. Just...
I love Dracula when he sees a transform. It's like, oh shit. Again, back to Dracula. He is the best part of the movie.
He really is. Richard Roxburgh.
He gets the best line in the movie.
He does.
Okay, so the Wolfman is like, I'd rather die, and Dracula's like, oh, don't be boring. Everyone who says that dies. I'm like, you're such a salty bitch, and I do love him. I love that character. I love that portrayal because I argue just about every version of Dracula is over the top. watch Bram Stoker's Dracula. Don't tell me Gary Oldman over the
He
top.
kind of
Bela
is.
Lugosi's over the top. They're always over the top.
Yeah, because part of the charm of those originals is the theatricality, is the melodrama.
Oh my God, he's at one point, was it the Wolfman yells at him, "Oh, you're evil, you're American," and he just dances and like, "What you gonna do?" And I'm like, "Oh, I love this guy. He's awesome. He's such a bitch. He's a salty bitch, and
Yes.
it's so awesome." And maybe world domination, but he also kind of wants to appease his wives.
Yeah, I get it. Which,
He kind of wants to make them
has to
happy.
appease his wives because he's openly admitted that life's kind of gotten kind of dull. So maybe he's kind of having a hard time getting his mojo going. So
well, no, clearly he doesn't, because we see the production levels of Bat Babies.
Oh yeah, well not that kind of mojo.
That mojo ain't.
Oh no, that mojo's fine. No, I'm pretty sure.
Have you seen his
I'm
wives?
pretty sure that's like True Blood level as far as like that kind of mojo. But
well, the fun fact is actually Richard Roxburgh, who played Dracula, ended up marrying one of the brides, the actress. They met on set, and they got married. It's just kind of adorable. It was the Valera, the green dressed one, the one with the dark hair.
Was it the first one to die?
The second one.
The second
She was
one.
the one with the steak bomb.
But one of the other cool things I gotta admit, the apparatus Van Helsing has for fighting is pretty wicked.
Yeah.
I mean, not a lot of it is in no shape, way, or form realistic.
Oh,
no, but you don't care because it looks so freaking cool.
Automatic crossbow, sign me up. That is so much. It's kind of like Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, when he has like the silver axe with the gun inside the hilt.
This is a bit more extreme,
This
though.
is more extreme. But come on. Tell me another movie you haven't seen that. You might have seen it in a video game.
Like the PlayStation 2 movie tie-in game, which is still available at your local GameStop.
Maybe.
They
still have this?
They've been busting them out again.
Whatever. Fun fact, in this, if you go into the library, I think it was in the town or something, you go into the library, you find a book on Imhotep, and you find a book on the Belmont family. Because, I'm not gonna lie, if you put this in your mind that this is a Castlevania movie, it kind of makes it even more amazing.
The movie came out when I was going through something of a pretentious phase, so I was watching a lot of the more arty horror films by that point. But I think when you made that connection for me, when you told me just to think of it more as a Castlevania movie, I actually started warming up to it a bit more. And then when I watch it again, I actually kind of enjoy it. Enjoy it a lot more.
See,
but
I was 100% on board with this movie when I first saw it. I was like, I love this movie, and I saw it I think 4 times in the theater. I loved it that much. And I made costumes from it, and then as time progressed, I started being told, like, oh, that movie's terrible, it's a horrible movie. And I'm sitting there going, well, it's silly and it's cheesy, but I don't see where the problems are. And watching it again, I'm like, no, man, this is an awesome movie.
I admit I was kind of guilty of that initially, too. I put myself at your mercy. I feel bad for that.
The way I see it is, it's a B movie with an A budget. There is nothing wrong with that.
And actually nowadays, with everyone's newfound fascination with B movies, this movie should be right up their alley at the same time.
I mean, rewatch The Mummy at Stephen Sommers' Mummy. There's a lot of coincidences. There's a lot of silliness and people doing things. You're like, why are you doing that?
There's a lot of inconsistent plotting, but you don't care.
But it's awesome. It's fun, and there's nothing wrong with fun. And I think
it has the same escapist spirit of the Mummy movies, and everyone seems to really fully embrace those, especially in the wake of the Tom Cruise
disappointment.
disappointment.
And there's an amazing drinking game you can do to Van Helsing. Take a drinking game time someone swings on a rope or rope-like wire. Pay attention. There's so much swinging, or you can amp it up a bit and does a ridiculous flip or ridiculous acrobatics. What
was with Kate Beckinsale in this one? She was doing
the only thing I could buy is that she was getting beaten up, but that corset she was wearing...
Yeah, bullshit.
Her ribs are fine. They're never going to touch. Nothing's touching the ribs. I mean, she did have a bruise on her forehead at one point, and I was like, they showed an injury.
Oh my god.
It's over the top. It's dumb. People are getting beaten up and they look fine. They travel across country in one day. I still don't know that
They
part.
traveled to, what was it? They're riding out to Paris, I think, originally?
No. This is a fun little bit of, you should have read your history. Dracula makes a comment about you've been so far, from Tibet to Istanbul. Except if you look at the timeline, this would have been Constantinople, not Istanbul. And supposedly that's how far they were traveling. They were traveling out of Transylvania through the Carpathian Mountains, because I made the Vigo joke. They were, pretty far in, and then one day get all the way back to Transylvania. I mean, we don't know how long it was that they traveled. I mean, we don't know, but they didn't travel that fast.
By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
That's a plot hole where I'm just like, you could just change it by not saying a time frame.
Yeah.
But it's funny. It's funny. It's like, at that point, who cares?
You don't
They're
think
going to Dracula's castle through a mirror. I just want to see, Hugh Jackman fighting Dracula, and
I will say Van Helsing and Kate Beckinsale aren't the most charismatic characters, but fortunately they're surrounded by such a great supporting cast. I gotta give shout out to David Wenham.
Yes!
Now I know what it's for!
He is such an underrated actor. I mean, the guy goes from being the effeminate Sati in Moulin Rouge, also in Moulin Rouge, by the way. Most people don't recognize him in Moulin Rouge.
He was.
Oh, stop! That insufferable droning is drowning out my words.
Can we please just stick to a little decorative piano?
Oh my god.
Yeah. That's what I mean. That's exactly my point.
Wow.
And then of course he was Faramir in The Lord of the Rings, and then he was a Spartan.
Yeah, he was.
And then he was one of the less blander aspects of Iron Fist. And I actually feel like this is one of those times where he actually got to just let his freak flag fly and just be this utterly adorable, eccentric...
He's this friar who's just a little saucy little guy, and he actually gets the girl, which is kind of adorable.
Kind of does, yeah.
It's cute,
Yeah.
and he's... at one point, like, chaos is happening, and he goes, I gotta go warn someone!
One thing I do love about a good climax is when it's well-balanced, when there's action happening with all the characters in different fronts. You've got, of course, Van Helsing dealing with Dracula. You've got Kate Beckinsale, Anna, I believe her name is.
Anna Valerius.
Yeah, Anna duking it out with the last surviving wife.
Alira. Dr. Poison from Wonder Woman.
That's right. And meanwhile, you've got him, David Wenham, Carl, duking it out with Igor.
But it's a good team.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that. Like, Van Helsing would never succeed in this entire situation if it weren't for the team. Anna, if she was essential, she was absolutely essential. Carl was essential. Even the Frankenstein's monster was part of the team, and it was really kind of cool.
Yeah. I mean, for all the heckling that we do of Stephen Sommers, I mean, yes, we're never going to forgive him for G.I. Joe. And he seems to be the most passionate when he's, like, emulating classic horror styles. And I gotta say, one thing I loved about that did, even the first time I watched it, I was like, damn, was the opening of the movie, how it was done in the classic black and white style.
Oh, no, the entire opening of the movie, when it's in black and white, I will throw down, is amazingly done, is perfectly executed. Everyone's on fire in that entire sequence. Fun fact is, what? The whole opening is very well shot, is utilizing shadows, suspense, really emulating like the 20s style of classic horror.
Definitely the James Whale Frankenstein style.
Absolutely.
It looked
and it just
great.
Looks great, and the effects actually look better being in black and white. Downside, I believe it was either William Kemp or Richard Roxburgh, I think it was Richard Roxburgh, asked Stephen Sommers when they were filming that portion if the whole movie could be done like this. Like, was that an idea? And Stephen Sommers was like, hell no.
I would imagine in post-production that's where the problem would be.
And I think tonally, the entire opening is done very much in the sense of like old school horror. It actually was a horrific opening. It had scary moments in it, where it becomes more action-based later on. And I think that would have not
It wouldn't have fit the tone.
Well.
Yeah, it wouldn't have meshed.
But the whole opening, I'll throw down, if anyone wants to talk garbage about this film, you can't talk garbage about the entire opening, because it's actually legit good.
It's legit good. Honestly, now I look at it with the same reverence as I do with the Mummy movies. It's the same level of escapist fun. It has the same sense of humor to it. It's got an equally charismatic villain.
Dracula was just like, you just couldn't wait to hear what he had to say again. Even when he was just, everything kind of failed so much, and they're like, we're not as smart as Victor Frankenstein. And he's like, yeah, I guess not. And I'm like, as much Dracula is a monster, he kind of acts like a human, which relates to the fact that he actually is still pissed off he died.
Yeah, this is not the Abraham Van Helsing from the book Dracula. This is its own Van Helsing. This is Gabriel Van Helsing. This is where I think the Hammer connection really more comes in, because if you've ever watched the old Hammer horror films, none of them are in any way showing fidelity to the original books. They are telling their own stories with it. That's where this one comes in. The Van Helsing of this seems like the kind you'd find in the Hammer horror films.
Yeah. I mean, the Hammer films added additional plot that didn't exist. They made things super complicated, changed names because they were doing their own thing. This does the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish they kind of went more into Van Helsing and Dracula's history, but they kind of go, never mind. I also kind of wonder if had they done more movies, maybe they would have explained more.
Possibly.
But, movie broke even technically, and it didn't.
There is a lot of value in this movie that I think we've taken for granted up till now, and I hope everyone's embracing of some of the more macabre in cinema nowadays, I think we should look back at Van Helsing with a bit more reverence than we used to.
Fun.
And have some fun. That's the purpose of comfort flicks, especially around the Halloween season. And one of the great things about horror in the Halloween season is that even when horror is not that great, it's still entertaining. And that's the thing
This movie's a lot of entertaining.
A lot of entertaining. And that's the big takeaway we should take, not just from comfort flicks, but from Halloween as a whole. So, do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think that this should just be forgotten along with the other big budget films that came out during that era? Or do you think that this should be reevaluated? Leave it all in the comments below. And for more Halloween content and Narcotic Casserole, like, share, subscribe, click. Thou shalt be served.
Van Helsing.
Even with all the modern... Are you okay?
Sorry, went down the wrong pipe.
Oh, I hate that.
Wrong pipe.
Blooper!